What's going on, guys? It's Goose from the Wise Wealth Discord coming back at you with another Sunday watch list. I know I've missed the last couple weeks. I do apologize for that. Been extra busy and just took a bad trade on the short side. Wanted to recoup my mindset and kind of come back with a clean, fresh slate. As you can see, we've been on a massive rally in the indexes. That's the NASDAQ. That's the Russell 2000 for IWM, ES1. You see these huge moves that have been occurring. Obviously, we are getting a little bit into that overbought area where it's like overstretched, like a rubber band effect. But ultimately, if there is any pullback, it seems like the momentum is on the upside. So even if it does come back and test this 200-day moving average, there's still a pretty good thrust higher, and we're breaking pretty good structure as far as the moving averages. Us breaking above this little double top potential head and shoulders that we had forming is also another thing. So I could see possibly 500 to like 490 if there is a pullback due to some of the downgrades that happen with credit agencies. If we go into the NASDAQ, the 100, the futures market, you can see we got a little bit of sell side, but honestly not much. Like, it's still in range. And if you're expecting a big sell off, you would think there would be more sellers here. Not to say we can't still have a cash session where we drop. We don't have to gap down necessarily, but we'll see how fearful people get. I know the fear and greed started getting into extreme greed, so that's something to watch out for. When people start to get super greedy and we're on these huge rallies, is that when it's time for a pullback? Who knows? I'm personally hoping for a pullback because I feel like I missed the move, and I'm assuming there's a lot of other people that are. So that's why it's like, when that sentiment's there, how far is the dip going to dip until people are like, oh, I need to get in on this pullback? So that's why you always want to keep buying for long term. But when it comes to trading, I'm looking for a good pullback somewhere around the 29 for futures, or like the 490 for cash session. That would be a beautiful pullback, or still maintain an uptrend, and then we'll be able to work and thrust higher, go towards the 530s and potentially all-time highs. I thought if you break it down, it was going to get denied around here. So that was kind of my short thesis. I thought it would be like a nice head and shoulders, barely make it above, but it just absolutely exploded. That weekly candle, you could see that the Qs just exploded higher. Slight divergence here, like it's really minimal divergence, but showing higher highs there on the chart, and you can see the RSI is cooling down. So sometimes it does have that pullback effect when you get those mini things, and it comes. So I'm eyeing around the 490 area. If we do, I'm not necessarily trying to short at these levels. I'm thinking about going long again. So we'll see how it plays out. IWM right into the resistance. Above 210 would be huge. Anything below, start to clean up that gap space at 200. Going over some equities now. So Apple, they've had their big bounce. They're still kind of in a bear flag. Not really too sure what they're trying to decide to do, but you could see that they're got something forming. It's just like right there at the bottom of like a major area of support on the weekly as they're trying to climb up. So they're making it, but it almost is bear flagging on the weekly. So Apple doesn't really look the strongest. Microsoft, they're so close to all-time highs. And they had that huge drop where everyone was so scared, but Microsoft's one of the best companies. So if they start to break above 470, that's blue skies. NVIDIA looking just as good. Like, that's an awesome looking chart. That's the weekly. Looks very bullish. So you can't deny that some of these charts are starting to look really good. They had that resistance at the 120 area. But you could see that it could be a potential pullback when you see these RSIs so high. You see liquidity down here when there's gaps. That's when I'm like, okay, can I be patient enough to wait for these pullbacks and then potentially look to go long after that? And when I saw the downgrade come after on Friday, I was just cracking up. I was like, that's great. I love how, they come out right after hours. Tesla, they had that huge break above 300. We were watching that level because they had the downtrend, the retest, and then the break above. We still have this gap down here at 300. I would love a pullback there, but people are just buying calls like crazy on Tesla. It looks really good. Get above like that 350, make a new high. You could definitely go up to close to the 400 before the robo-taxi event. But beautiful flag pattern right there on the hourly. So that'll give us a nice day trade to be able to play. Now that my mentality's cool, I just got wrecked on the short side, so I always like to take my time with it. Meta, we coming in, we have this Gap right here below, it looks like it started to get denied pretty hard from where it's been at, but below 626, possibly fill that gap down to 600. Would be a beautiful pullback. As you can see, it's a big level of like liquidity, so somewhere right in there would be a beautiful place for bulls to start to get there. If not, maybe the 200-day. AMD, ultimately they did get above this huge downtrend they're in. I know they were one of the weakest semis, but as semis are starting to lead, they do have that big thrust action going on, and they like to coil up for weeks and months at a time, and then they explode. So Google still struggling, kind of one of the weaker names. I believe in them long term, but just let them base out. They had some bad news come out, and they're just kind of like flagging. You want it above the 200-day moving average, above 175, then you can start to feel that bullish momentum thrusting into 200. But I'm being patient with Google. I do want to buy calls, but it's one of the weaker names as of right now. Amazon, they had their huge downtrend that they finally had broken above. Potentially that could be the top for right now, just because that's a big level of resistance. So you want to see it come back and potentially retest 195, and I think that would be a great place to re-long. It just looks like we're in pullback mode, like maybe 2%, maybe 5%. I don't know about a double dip correction at this point. That's what I was leaning for originally, but who knows how the news comes out and what they start to do. Yields being up kind of high in the middle of the week was a little stressful, but we'll see. Netflix, obviously the strongest out of the Mag 7, already at their all-time highs as compared to Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. They're close. Nvidia is not too far off from all-time highs, but Netflix is one that is just in blue skies and continuing to go. Definitely a huge divergence right there. So potentially it starts to slow down, or the trend could change. But I'm honestly not super bullish in like the bigger time frames. It's just like short term, I'm hoping for a pullback so I can go long in those, positions. But you're not always lucky. You can't always get everything you want. It's not always great setup. So who knows? Maybe we gap open. We are down about 1% in most indexes. So we'll see how it goes, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, ask me questions if you ever have any stocks I want to look over. I focus mostly on the Mag 7. But let's have a great week. Let's stay disciplined and continue to just be great. Let's go.